Sarah, dessert or not dessert?
If we're speaking in terms of Top Chef finales, I've done it both ways. Mm-hmm. One no dessert, one with dessert, and I haven't won either time. So I don't know what it says about that. But if I were at a restaurant, I'm like a no dessert person. I would rather waste my intake and my all of the things on savory stuff or cheese.
I'm with you.
The cheese course. Yeah,
I'm with you. I find myself oftentimes letting Allison have the dessert or the other guests, and I'm full from all of the protein, all the yummy stuff from the meal. And I find myself just not like out on dessert, but if I'm gonna go with either another course during the meal or a dessert, I'm going with another course. And on this Top Chef finale, we see, very controversially, Rhoda going without a dessert. But the facts are the facts, okay? This is the third time that in a finale, a chef has opted to not go with a dessert and won. And there are 5 runner-ups, including yourself, who decided to go with no dessert and did not win. But 3 out of 8, considering that there's a lot of, 3-person finales, winning 3 times out of 8 is actually, it's actually a pretty strong ratio. It's not half, but I would say if you like the judging by Joe Flam's reaction in that discussion, the little pep talk with Rhoda, I think the facts suggest that you might be better off doing no dessert.
I mean, we're not pastry chefs, right? Like it's different when you have someone like Kelsey or say you had like Nene in the finale Nene is more of a pastry chef than a savory chef, even though she's fabulous on both ends. You get somebody like that on the finale who is a pastry chef and they blow you out of the water. Like it doesn't even matter. Like why even try to compete?
But if you're doing a pea cake.
But if you're making pea cake and you're serving it to the Michelin inspectors and they love it, all you got to do is just remember to cook your proteins properly, Lawrence, and you might win, right? Like it's a rough one. I know his pain.
This is Pack Your Knives. I am Tom Haberstroh.
I am Sara Bradley.
Sarah! You were there.
I am Sara, the luckiest draft picker ever, right? People are like, did she know? And I want to be like, I got receipts. I got time-stamped text messages.
Yeah. I think, Sarah, most people got the joke last week that I was insinuating that you had known something or cheated in the draft. I absolutely do not think you cheated in the draft. I thought I was laying it on pretty thick that I was sarcastic and just you were so good at draft night, me being a bitter loser in the fantasy league. I was just poking fun. And some people out there, I mean, I'm not supposed to read the comments and feedback. The negative comments are just in the sports world and in the food space. Not all that helpful to read, but I was joking. Sara did not cheat in the draft, and we have receipts. We have all the evidence, and I just you called it with Sherry, Rhoda, and Lawrence. And as we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, you actually wanted Jossie. I took Anthony, who is just as good as any of these chefs in the competition, but didn't ultimately get to the finale. And yeah, Andy got to go to. I hate that we're leading with the draft controversy when you were at fucking Grandfather Mountain and at the finale dinner 4-course menu. So why don't we just start there? Can we talk about? You got the call to go to the finale, and what was that like? You had to pack your bags real quick, hop on a plane. You're going to Grandfather Mountain. How much did you know ahead of time that this was going to happen?
So I'll be very honest, because we got there and like Joe and Stephanie and I were all kind of chatting, and I was like, man, I didn't even have like any outfits to bring. Like I had to go shopping that day to try to find some stuff because they were like, you got to be fancy, and I'm not a fancy person. And Stephanie was like, oh, when did you find out? I've known for a couple weeks, a little while. And I was like, dude, they called me like 2-3 days ago. So let's be honest. I probably was like the backup, but then Joe said that he also got the call, just a couple days ahead of time. So it didn't feel so bad. But, I think they kind of wait to see who makes it to the finale to start inviting people because, Stephanie cooks a lot of like Asian flavors. So it made sense for her to be there, and I do this kind of like fusion of technique and my heritage. And so it made, I think they kind of pick people that fit, the chefs that have
complement each other,
that complement the chefs that have shown up. You don't want to have everybody that cooks like West African food and then no one is cooking West African food and they don't really have any, knowledge to share. But it was crazy. And the worst part was that I knew, like, we'd already drafted. And then when I got there and I saw who was there and I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. But I didn't know, like, the 3 helpers. Like, I kind of noticed them in the kitchen. But at this point, I still didn't really know what people looked like. So I didn't know who the other people were. I knew there was a twin, and I actually thought the whole time that it was a different twin. I thought it was the other one.
But you drafted both twins. See, this is also going towards, you did not cheat, that you didn't even know who was totally on your team when you went to the finale.
Yeah. And like when Rhoda got sent home, I was watching on my computer and I literally shrieked. And my husband like came and he's like, is everything okay? And I was like, like I was just in shock because I didn't know she went to Last Chance Kitchen. So it was like, even though I got to be there on the end, I still got to see the story unfold. But, I honestly don't think it's as much fun when you know who wins. I would prefer to never know. I have avoided knowing all the way through. In season 17, I found out, and I have since avoided I have never wanted to know because it's just no fun. It takes all of the mystique out of watching the show. So.
Okay. So, first off, that must have been so much fun to be a participant on the finale. And we have so much to get into. And first of all, congratulations to Rhoda, Chef Rhoda, one of the best competitors we've seen on Top Chef. Won the first 2 episodes of the season, the first chef ever to open Top Chef with 2 individual victories in the elimination challenges. And she comes back and wins the whole damn thing from Last Chance Kitchen. The story arc, I think her soul, her personality, her talent, a great Top Chef winner and someone that joins a elite list of 4 Last Chance Kitchen champions to win it all. So that's Kristen, Brooke Williamson, Joe Flam, and of course, Rhoda. So she becomes the 4th one. She's also the 3rd one, as I mentioned at the top, to win without doing a dessert in the finale. So that is Kristen also. So like, if you want to look at comps for who Rhoda Magbatong is on Top Chef, it's the host of Top Chef, Kristen Kish, who also came back from LCK and also chose not to do a sweet final meal at the 4-course menu. Then, I want to also shout out, she won $250,000, $40,000 in addition to that with the 3 quickfire wins and the packages there. She also ends an 8-year curse. Sarah, I don't think you know this. She just snapped an 8-year curse of winning the first elimination challenge and not winning at all, which used to be the trend. It used to be, if you win the first elimination challenge, you're head and shoulders above the competition. And I think it was the first year that Kevin and I did this show, Sarah. That was the biggest analytical insight I could provide as I researched the winners of the first elimination challenge. And it was an overwhelming edge in who ends up winning Top Chef, and which is why I picked Tyler Anderson #1 overall that year, because I was like, oh, he won the first episode. No doubt I'm going to take him with the first pick. And he ends up leaving in like the 2nd episode. And 8 years after that, there was a 3-year run where the first person won the elimination challenge and then won the whole thing. And then it was just a cold streak. And we just ended that with Rhoda, who not only won the first episode, but also the 2nd episode. So I don't know if there's anything to make of that. There is that maybe winning the first elimination challenge effect is back, but she won the first two. And so watching this season, Rhoda was certainly a roller coaster.
I don't necessarily think that it has anything to do with it. Like winning the first challenge, taking it all the way to the end, going to LCK. There's just too many variables. I can't imagine that first one, like that you showing up and winning, there's just so many nerves. There's also so many people, like everyone is great that gets there. It's just about making it to the end. So I just don't think that if you win the first challenge, it is at all indicative of how you will perform in the rest of the show.
It just seems random. Maybe in the first like 14 seasons, 7 of the first elimination challenges ended up winning the whole thing. I mean, 50%, just basically, that is an absurd number when you consider how many contestants are there in Top Chef, and about half of them had gone on to win it all. But ever since then, it has been curtains for that chef. And so now Rhoda is the top chef, and I gotta ask you off the rip here. Did you have her as the winning chef after your meal?
I was not sure if it was going to be, actually, I don't know. I mean, they all had bangers, right? Like they all had one dish that was an absolute banger, and they all had one dish that was a flop. And the editing, they treated everyone pretty nice. It's really interesting to be at the table and then see like how it comes out. You want to break it down course by course? Okay. So first course. So tell me what we had first course.
First course was the sweet potato with uni from Rhoda, with miso butter, charred potato leaves. And I liked this. They didn't really pull on this thread, but remember the first elimination challenge, she won with the sweet potato. That was her dish. So it's kind of full circle for Rhoda. She has the sweet potato with uni. And Tom really loved the originality of it. Said this is like very new. It was smoky. The uni was incredible, unbelievable. Lawrence did the congee with yutao, the pork and century egg congee. And then Sherry did the frog leg moqueca. So how do you score that one? Do you remember anything from those first course dishes?
Okay, let's start Sherry. So Tom and I went into the kitchen that first day when we did the walkthrough, and we both like tasted the moqueca sauce. It was blow you up spicy. I mean, it was like out of control. And so we were all kind of waiting to see what happened. She definitely toned it down, but it still had some spice to it. It was a beautiful dish. I mean, langoustines, like she said, are really hard to cook. It's always kind of a gamble about the quality. I love frog legs. Like, I think they're such a fun thing. So it was just like a really beautiful sauce. It had a bunch of like little tiny diced veggies underneath, and then these really pretty proteins. I mean, there's some other stuff going on.
They muted the heat on that.
Yeah. She definitely toned the heat down. Everyone liked that dish. Some people loved that dish.
Kristen said it was her favorite of the entire night. Well, let me ask you this. The langoustine and frog legs, is that considered a duo?
I don't know what that is. Literally.
Because your talk with her was like, yo, chill with the duos.
My children will ask, they'll be like, can I say a cuss word? And I'll be like, sure. And Lula was like, why does your face look like you're like looking at her like, what the fuck? I was like, excuse me? And she was like, you're looking at her like, what are you doing? Why does your face look like that? And I was like, Lula, like, like they don't get to say curse words that often, but I would rather, whatever. We have a theory I have my own theory about curse words. But I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I don't know. Your face looks weird. All of you guys, you're like talking to them and you all look like you're thinking like, why are you going to do that?
Well, did you feel that? Did you feel that?
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard because when they're explaining the dishes to us on the top of Grandfather Mountain, and they're like, you have 5 minutes to talk to your mentor or whatever it is. They were trying to get like so much information like out. Like they were really trying to like give us the whole thing. And it just, Stephanie, Joe, and I all walked away thinking like, oh my God, like what are they? You saw Stephanie. She was like, you have 2 pages of notes. And Joe was like, I really think you might just need to edit, you know? And I was like, I don't know if you need to do that. Like, it was just a lot. So I think at first we all were like, whoa. Plus, you know, we've been there. I mean, I've served a finale meal twice. So like, I know exactly what I would do, or at least I think I know exactly what I would do. But yeah,
do you like that role? Was that nerve-wracking for you? Like,
no, I didn't care. I was nervous for them, but I was not nervous. Yeah. I didn't care. I was going to sit there and eat food and get someone to do my makeup and drink wine, and I was going to be all good.
Yeah. Did you have a feeling of like, I don't want to give bad advice that might hurt them, or like,
yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I prefaced with like, this is you got to do you have to execute. It has to be beautiful. I think they like put that like in the end of it. I was like, but you have, like, this has to be your food, which is why I thought Sherry's was interesting, that each one of her dishes like paid homage to where she had worked at some point. Because I just don't think that where she worked is, I mean, it's a great part of her story, but I think her story is this like Brazilian food, like elevated, you know, I rather would have seen, but you know, we all make decisions. She served a fabulous meal.
Yeah. It felt like Vinny, honestly. Vinny from last year. Yeah. Where she was paying homage to the places that she worked. But as Gail mentioned in this episode, she's like, I worked there too. Like at Le Cirque. And I feel like she leaned in, if I had a note for her, she leaned in a little too much on where she worked and not who she is. And in a room full of people who have worked at all those restaurants or those types of restaurants, that doesn't make her unique, but I can understand why. If I'm going to pay homage to someone, maybe I pay homage to my grandfather or my uncle or my aunt, or I might do it to ESPN or someone I worked at NBC. She chose the professional route where like she wanted to pay homage to the restaurants and the spaces that she had worked in. And I felt like it was Vinny all over again last year, where it's like, we don't care. We want you, like you. We know that you worked for some pretty awesome chefs, Michelin this, Michelin that. But this, ultimately it didn't matter because she cooked really good dishes. And I scored this one. Rhoda wins the first course with the sweet potato and uni. And Kristen Kish said this was her favorite. The sherry one was her favorite. And then I had Lawrence third. So Rhoda, sweet potato and uni, that I thought got just...
That might have been one of the best dishes I ate of the entire year. Like that dish. So they all got to bring some special ingredients. You always get to do this. You always get to request some special stuff that you think you won't get. Because they really want you to be able to cook your food and have access. And I just don't know that you're going to get top of the line uni or abalone in Charlotte, North Carolina. So,
I was just going to ask that. Yeah. Where the hell did she get that stuff?
So she had an uni. She has a friend that is like an uni fisherman that like is an uni diver, and they dove for that uni specifically for her. And maybe the abalone too. I'm not sure, but I know specifically the uni in California, and they shipped it to her. So so first off, I love uni. It's one of my favorite ingredients. Yeah. And I love sweet potato. I mean, I loved everything about that dish. It was so unique and so interesting and so flavorful. The potato was cooked perfect. It was like covered in this miso butter. It was smoky. Everything about that dish. I mean, for me, that was the best dish of the entire meal. And it was like one of the first, I think it was the first one we tasted. But she came out and told this story about being in California and that she had a friend that dove for this uni, and we're all kind of like start eating it, and you could kind of look around the table and you could feel a vibe that like this dish was just amazing. And I felt like later on when we see them like back in the kitchen, Rhoda had a little more playful of a energy, maybe like a little more relaxed.
Loose,
it could have
confident,
been, it could have been because I think that she could probably see the excitement on everyone's faces when we started digging into that dish. It was phenomenal. And then I think that Sherry brought the langoustines. I'm not quite sure what ingredient
Lawrence brought. Yeah.
Lawrence brought. But, and what was Lawrence's dish?
It was the congee with that like fried, the fried stick that was just, it looked awesome. Yeah.
Listen, I'm a grits girl. Okay. You could give me congee and I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you if this is like a great congee or if the rice is broken the amount it should be, or if it's this or that. But I knew that congee was thick. Like, you know, and I'm not like an aficionado on it.
Right.
But I knew that it wasn't, I couldn't imagine that's the way he wanted it served. It had a ton of flavor to it, but it had seized, it had set up. And so like when you scooped through it with your spoon, it almost like held a shape instead of kind of pulling back into the area. If that makes sense. And when I say pulling, I mean like POOL, filled the empty space. So it was definitely, too thick. And it was also kind of interesting. He had trimmed the edges off of the bread that he had made. I didn't have a lot of experience with the bread that he had made, the fried bread. A lot of the people that had experience with that type of bread were saying, you know, it's really great. But when he cut the ends off, he kind of lost those like little end pieces that like are the crispy, like the really crispy, crunchy bits. And so they were like, why did he cut off the best parts of this bread? Like the end piece.
I didn't get why they didn't explain that.
I'll also tell you that in between each dish is you probably got 20 minutes, I'd say, you know, and they go around and they say, Sarah, it's your turn to talk. And, you know, they ask people, you know, to talk. Yes, no, negative, positive. They want lots of feedback. But yeah, Rhoda's dish for me, showstopper.
Do you have to say a negative thing on every dish? You have to find something?
No, you don't have to. I mean, I thought all the dishes were really, really nice. Yeah. They were all really good.
Temp issues in this episode for sure on some of these dishes. Like the Lawrence's dish had some temperature issues, just set, and it wasn't hot enough. And I think Sherry struggled with that from here and there in this episode. But second one, Lawrence has a big bounce back with his trio, his dim sum trio, with a daikon cake, shrimp, scallop, tofu, then lobster sticky rice. The sauces, as Joe mentioned, were outstanding on this one, the dim sum trio. And it seemed like that was also a big winner in this episode. And then I had that scored as Lawrence's win. Then I had Rhoda in second with the Luga abalone dish with abalone liver mousse. And again, I was like, damn, they have that at the Super G market. I was like, I'd missed that last time I was in there. And it had, I think, I can't say that I've had abalone liver mousse before, but apparently it can have some off flavor or some funk to it that can be off-putting. And there was some funk, but it worked really well in this dish. And I think that speaks to how fresh it was and the quality of it, that some people are like, this is a tough one to pull off, but she did on this episode.
Yeah, so it's abalone livers, like it's kind of like it's really briny and like super umami. And the thing that you have to realize is if you say liver abalone mousse, you got to put enough on the plate that we taste liver abalone mousse. So the thing that I think the complaint from a lot of people at the table for that one is she just put a few little dots on there. She didn't put very much. So it wasn't like it was it wasn't present. It wasn't one of those things. Like she could have just said abalone, because you should have seen the menu descriptions. Sherry's had 5,000 words. You know, Rhoda was very simple in her descriptions.
From the Sarah Bradley School.
You know how I love that. I think I even told Sherry that. I was like, don't put a lot of words on the menu in case you decide to change your mind. But so the liver abalone, it was there, but it wasn't like something that, they didn't love her porridge. They didn't love the consistency of it. But it was also like it was like the second one we'd had that was not hot enough. If you're going to plate something hot, get that bowl. I don't give a shit about those people serving the food at this. event. I would not have cared if they all needed napkins to carry my food out. I would have made my plates so hot that when they sat down in front of the people and they touched them, they said, "Oh, this plate is warm." Like for me, that's a really nice extra touch. Yeah, and then I remember with Lawrence's, the sauce work was fabulous. The lobster sticky rice, I remember us all thinking it needed more lobster. And I heard Kristen say, like, that was my favorite out of the three. I don't know that dish was super, super successful.
It was on the show. It seemed like the edits showed that it was the winner of that course for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what Sherry served on that one.
It was a potato dumpling with pig ear broth with matsutakis. Too cold, chewy, slimy. The dumplings were great, but it was overpowered by the other elements on the dish. So yeah,
it was interesting. She made these potato dumplings, and I remember her making them and telling me how she was like, "I'm going to make them the day before, or I'm going to make the dough and then make them the next day." And in my head, I was thinking, "Oh no, sister, like that's a risk. Like, if you're going to make the dough that day, you should just go ahead and if you're going to poach them." She took all of the scraps from the roasted potatoes where she made the dumpling, and she turned that into like a brodo. Like, that was part of that broth that kind of went over it. And it was just it was just kind of over seasoned. There was like too much lemon in it, that it kind of overtook everything and kind of got rid of that really like roasty, savory umami thing, because it was just a little bit too much acid. I don't remember them really being slimy, but maybe it was because she didn't do the dough that day and she had to get so much flour on it to make it work.
I think what Kristen said was it had a lot of chewy, slimy textures. And I couldn't tell if Kristen was saying that as a positive or a negative, like that she enjoyed that. I don't know if slimy is...
I don't think slimy is a good word.
I don't think that's the positive connotation there.
You could say like unctuous. I don't know. There was other words you could probably use. The other thing was she said it had these crispy pig ears, and the pig ears were so over fried. They were really over fried. I think maybe she knew, so she didn't put a lot of them on the plate. So then here the menu comes out and it's like crispy pig ears. We didn't really get crispy pig ears, and the pieces we did get were so like the texture of them was so crunchy compared to like the pillowy dumpling and the kind of like light broth. That dish, I thought that dish was going to be like her. I thought that dish was going to be her. Like, I thought it was just going to be amazing. When she was telling me about it and she was like going to use all the parts, all of the ingredients, like nothing was going to be wasted. And I just thought, man, like this is so cool with this, this potato skin broth and this dumpling, and like she's using pig ears. And I was really hopeful for that dish.
That was Kristen's least favorite of the day, and she redeemed herself quite a bit on the next course. So Sherry in the third course did this beef tongue with foie gras that I think it was Hunter Lewis who said if Thomas Keller did a Top Chef pop-up at Brazil, this would be the dish. And it had some Carolina Reaper leche de tigre in the original conception of the dish. But I don't know if she used the Reapers for the previous dish or if she used it on this one. Whatever it was, this also was on the list of showstoppers that I could tell from the edit that was an extremely successful dish. What did you think of it?
It was good. Originally she had said she was going to do this. She was going to open with this beef tongue and langoustine dish. So she really, she was smart about it. I think you had Rhoda who undershopped and just bought what she needed to try to kind of keep it simple and pure. And then Sherry, who had more proteins than what she actually did because she ended up putting the beef tongue as her main. I don't know what her other main was. I feel like maybe it was going to also be a short rib. And maybe she pivoted when she saw that Sherry was doing a short rib. I can't remember that for sure. I know the leche de tigre, there was not enough of that on the plate. Like, I feel like if you're going to tell us a sauce like that, and it's tiger's milk. It's usually like a marinade that's used to kind of cure seafood. I don't know that just putting putting peppers in something. I think some of the discussion was like, you can't just put spicy peppers in to something and call it leche de tigre. Like it doesn't, that's not how it works. The beef tongue was so good. Have you ever cooked beef tongue?
I've not cooked beef tongue. I love lengua though. I mean, if I'm getting tacos at a stand, I'm like, oh, give me that. Yeah.
Okay. So this is my shout out to be like, if you just listen to the podcast every once in a while, you should watch the podcast. Okay, here's my tongue. Big long tongue. The back part of the tongue on an animal has all this fat. Yeah, Tom's got his tongue out right now. That part that's back there by your teeth, that's just marbled with so much fat. And the thing is like, the more an animal uses a muscle, the more flavorful it is. That's why we love the brisket, right? Because the cow's breathing in and out. That's why I love the tongue, because I mean, shit, I talk a lot. So like, I would imagine that my tongue would be delicious.
My tongue is delicious.
My tongue would be delicious. But she gave everybody these pieces from like way back on the tongue, where fatty it's really fatty.
Yeah.
And then the way she had grilled them, they had gotten this real crisp texture to them. And then she had braised them in this sauce. We all wanted more sauce. Her sauce work was fabulous. Just those two, that first and second dish, those spicy sauces, that's where she lived. And then I'm a brat for foie. I love it. It's my favorite. I can eat it raw. I can eat it cooked. I can eat it cold, hot. I don't care.
That combo worked for you?
It was so nice. Yeah, it was a great dish. Lawrence, on the other hand,
the duck. Whoops.
This is really where he, I think he took himself out of the running for it. I hate it. I felt like they made it like it was Jonathan that screwed the duck up.
Yeah, in the car, the thought was, "Hey, we prepared sous vide, and that I think would be a really good way to prepare this." And Lawrence said, "Oh yeah, really? Okay, yeah, we can do that. That sounds good." And then that's kind of, once that happened, I was like, "This is either going to make this dish or it's going to break this dish." And so it did seem like they were telling the story as if Lawrence was not misled, but it wasn't his preference to do it that way.
Well, in my interpretation of it, remember when Carla Hall cooked in the finale and Jen Thompson, was that who it was like, "Hey, we sous vide," or maybe it wasn't Jen, maybe it was somebody else. I can't remember. Somebody was like, "This is how we do it." And so Carla sous vide her meat and she wasn't familiar with it. But the reason Carla did that she suggested, is because Carla was nervous about cooking that much protein properly. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling that, and this is just my assumption, that in the car, Louis, who has been cooking for 8-10 years and doesn't have a ton of formal training, was like, "I want to serve this duck and make it refined, but I don't know if I can cook 16 duck breasts perfectly."
Yeah.
And Jonathan was like, "Hey, I got a trick." And so I would have never sous vide my duck. I would have been like, "No, I'm going to roast it and just do it, do it the right way." So I just don't love that they blamed it on Jonathan. Louis driving the bus. It's his decision. But that duck was not good.
Yeah, it was too tough. Over rested. You said it was tough on the show.
Yeah. The broth was
I don't think that was it.
The broth was underseasoned. I guess that traditionally that, they'll serve the Peking duck and then they bring out broth and you kind of like drink this broth. It just tasted like hot water. It was not good. The rice made no sense. It was just kind of plain white rice. It felt, he had some pickles. The best thing on the plate were the pickles. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I will also say, you guys, I sent a text to Tom and Maze this morning, and it was Hazel called it. Hazel, my 4-year-old, said that duck is overcooked. Like, she called it before it even went out when they were plating. She said that duck is overcooked, but she also likes rare steak. She knew it was overcooked. So
yeah, Hazel, watch out, Kristen. She's coming for your
shit. She's feisty, man.
Yeah, she's got it. Future star. I think Lawrence did lose it on this one. Yeah. Disappointing dish. It happens. And maybe the lack of formal, quote unquote, formal training, maybe that did him in, is that he didn't have the confidence to be like, no, I'm going to roast these ducks, like you said. But he did that. Chinese barbecue had a good story with it. Just the hanging duck that you go into a Chinese or Chinatown, you see the ducks hanging from the windows, had a good story. But that almost made it even more flat, is that this seemed like this was going to be in your wheelhouse, and it didn't come out the way you wanted it. Rhoda did this eggplant dish, which, I mean, in my head, I'm such a child, had so many like dick jokes as I'm thinking as she's making these eggplants, and the way that it was chewy and all this stuff. I was watching this and just being like, man, I can't tell if they like this dish or not. Like, it seemed like it was so unique, is that she sliced it long and had all these like chili vinegar flavors, sweet, sour, and I couldn't get a read if you guys liked it or not.
I think it was mixed. I think it had potential to be such a fabulous dish. But eggplant is so wet, right? Like, it's so wet, and it's just a lot of moisture in there. And so on the menu, it said eggplant omelet. And so I think we all were expecting something different when it came out. It was almost more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Shit. I don't know. It was like an egg batter, and then they'd been fried. And then she put that like vinaigrette all over it. And so any part of it that was crispy, and they looked beautiful when Seeger flipped them over. Like, I thought, when I saw it later on, I was like, oh my God, if I could have had that. But she pureed the XO sauce, which part of the beauty of XO sauce is all of the textures that are in it, right? And then she drizzled that vinaigrette all over. She had some really nice sauce work, but it was just kind of like, is it supposed to be crispy? Is it supposed to be soggy? Is it like, what's exactly?
Hunter loved it. He said it was a revelation.
And Hunter?
Hunter,
oh yeah, he loved
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It didn't taste bad. It just was like something that was wet had become crispy, and then they'd put something wet on top of it, and then they'd served it with things that could have been wet or dry. It was like, it was maybe a revelation. I did not revel in it, but yeah.
Was that? We haven't finished the rounds, but was there any dish that had the most variance in the reviews, like the most disagreement? Because that one person saying it's a revelation, and then I kind of felt like some people didn't really care for it. And Kristen said she was all over this dish, really enjoyed it, it seemed.
Yeah, I think that maybe that was it. It was kind of hard to understand. And I think that when she came out, and she was like, the crispy bits, and we were all like, where are the crispy bits, and then the question was, and she was like, well, it's supposed to be soft, so it's, I think she wanted the inside to be soft and the outside to be crispy. And I was sitting right next to the window, and they were definitely all plating pretty early. Like, they weren't, I felt like there wasn't a big, huge push back there to get food on the plate.
What does that tell you?
Fine. It is just that they were all they wanted to make sure their food was perfect, so they were plating a little bit early. They weren't leaving any chance for it to not be perfect, which is a great idea. That it should be perfect. I would rather the temperature be a little off than not get something to the plate.
True. Because that was what Sherry said, was I want to plate early. And I think that kind of bit her in the ass a little bit, was some of the temperatures weren't where it needed to be on the dishes. At least that's how they portrayed it in the edit. I scored it that Sherry won the third round. Lawrence comes up the rear on that one with the duck. And then Rhoda is in second with her eggplant dish. Fourth course, it's coming down to the fourth course, because I have Lawrence winning the second, I have Rhoda winning the first, and I have Sherry winning the third. So it's going to come down to this. I don't know if that was the vibe going into the fourth course for you, but certainly for me as a viewer, I'm saying, all right, this is crunch time. Let's see who pulls out the win here with the best dish. And I ultimately thought that I think Lawrence won this one, but I also think he was so poor on the duck that it didn't even matter. And so I scored this, Sarah.
Oh, God.
I scored this. you know, like 1, 2, and 3 for each. I gave 1 point for the winner, 2 points for the silver, and then 3 points for the bronze on each courses. And I ultimately had my first round after the first watch before they go to judges table that it was Rhoda on the fourth course came in second and Sherry was in third. And that would have given Rhoda the victory, which would have had 7 points, 8 for Lawrence and 9 for Sherry. But then after watching the edit or the judges table, I moved Sherry into second place and Rhoda in last place on the fourth course, which meant that it was a 3-way tie with 8 points. And then I was like, you know what? I can't have it as a tie. And so I actually gave Rhoda the tiebreaker going into the verdict. And I said, all right, I think Rhoda wins. And I have it in my scoring system, 7.5 for Rhoda, 8 points for Lawrence, and 8.5 for Sherry. But it was so close coming down to it that I just don't think Lawrence's, even though the broken cake was, I think, the winner in that fourth course, I don't think it was enough to erase what the duck was in the previous dish.
So this is specifically what I said when I think that they were very nice with their edit. Lawrence comes out and serves the saddest fucking dessert you've ever seen. Number one, the cake was dry. The cake was not, I think he had cooked it the day before. Maybe he had torn, I don't know. The cake was very dry. It was not a great texture. He called it broken birthday cake and then talked about how the white chocolate caramel whatever was supposed to look like it was crying. Like,
Sad.
come on, Lawrence. It essentially what it was is a cake that a pastry chef, that someone who's not a pastry chef would serve. I want you to go back to my English pea cake, okay? I made a cake. I tore it into nice big pieces and I plated it very organically. The same thing he did. Mine just happened to, hit, but it was so sad that you did not feel happy eating it. After hearing to him talk about it, you're like, fuck, I don't want to put this energy in my body right now. It really felt sad. So I don't know.
Be a heartwarming story. It was my wife. I missed her birthday. I missed the anniversary. And so I'm going to serve a broken, sad dish. As my final in the finale, I'm going to make a total Debbie Downer dish.
Yeah.
No,
I actually think that Tom Colicchio was like, when he walked away from the table, Tom was like, like it was, it was hard. That one is like, you couldn't feel excited about it. And if you did, there was so much expectation that this sad dish was going to make you happy. That was like a lot to put on a dish that like, it's so sad, but here, I'm going to give you this dish and it's going to be so over the top that it's going to make you really excited. But the cake was dry. The cake was not right.
Okay, but then the quenelle didn't work on Sherry's dish. And so you're like, oh man, that dessert didn't hit either.
That was okay. So listen, Sherry, when you put something cold on something hot, it obviously melts, right? She should have plated those, put like the porridge or or whatever she was calling it, and put it to the side. That was my favorite of that course. She also didn't have to call it ice cream. I never would have called something ice cream because
you're a hater of ice cream. So that's,
well, no, because if it melts, it's not ice cream, motherfucker. It could be creme anglaise. Excuse my language, but like those are the same things. It could have had charred corn silk cream. She just could have said charred corn silks. And then when she walked out there and it wasn't plated properly, she could have said, and there's a charred corn cream the sweetened cream that you need to stir into the thing. And she probably would have won the show because it was delicious. It had like this really cool, she made her own hominy. She made fresh hominy, cooked it down. It had this really beautiful sweet corn flavor to it. It had Brazil nuts, all the textures. There were so many textures. That was a winning dish that I think that she probably would have won had she changed the wording.
How about that? I mean, this is the Sarah Bradley Latitude School of Cooking, competition cooking, because if you had just called it something different, it would have been a winner.
Yeah.
And I'm fixated on the quenelle didn't work and how dare you put ice cream in a hot porridge and think that that was going to work in your finale dessert. And like, why didn't you just throw the quenelle in a freezer, and then as soon as you're ready to put it out there, it's nice and cold in a really cold dish, bowl, whatever you want to call it, and have it separate. But then you put it, I don't know, that didn't work for me. And then the Rhoda, the calderetta with short rib, with liver sauce.
Number three across the, I don't know, Lawrence's was bad, but that one was not good. I'm so surprised that they talked about how the beef was good. The piece of beef was good and it was tender and the sauce was delicious. But next to it, it looked like a banquet plate. I'm sorry. It was like banquet 101. It was like a piece of braised short rib with sauce. And then next to it, there were like these little roasted potatoes, these little like oblique cuts of carrots, and a friggin' whole Castelvetrano olives. Like, it just didn't make sense. It felt like an afterthought, or maybe she had not had time. Maybe there was supposed to be something else on the plate. I'm not sure. The beef was delicious. The sauce was delicious. The veggies were like just kind of living there. Didn't make any sense.
If I had made that for you, Sarah, you'd be like, good job, Tom.
No.
But this is the finale on Top Chef, and you got to cook the best dish of your life in the fourth course, and you do a glorified banquet dish. She obviously won, but man, she was saved by the other two not having a standout finishing move, because if any of those three chefs, if Lawrence or Sherry delivered a knockout punch, I think they're Top Chef. I think they're the Top Chef, because I think the margins were pretty thin going into that final course. And I got to imagine the Tom Colicchio for the final dish could be applying for all of those in the final round, where you're all excited. All right, here's the final round. Let's see what they got. And all three of them seem to have pretty serious mistakes in there. And I kind of flip-flopped between whether Rhoda or Sherry's were the worst dish based on the edits. You said that Sherry was, of the three, your favorite, but still, I don't think you're giving that like an A grade. You'd probably, what?
No, it still wasn't. It wasn't an A grade. I mean, there was potential for it to be, if it came out and she said, I want you to stir this charred corn silk cream into it, because, her porridge also had kind of it hadn't set up the way the others had, but it had tightened. Yeah. So I don't know. All in all, the food was phenomenal. And it's like, at this level, you're really nitpicking. Like, if I'd gone to any restaurant and had that meal, any of those dishes, I would have been super excited, except maybe the duck. I would have not been happy with the duck. But if I had Lawrence cooking me Peking style duck in his restaurant where he had time to do it, I bet you I would have been blown away. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think that it really was, you were like nitpicking. You were like having to look for things that you didn't like in some of these dishes, because that's the job, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to pick the one that is the most delicious. I think across the board, Rhoda's was probably just the most interesting. That sweet potato dish, man.
You walk away, that's the thing that you remember, right?
I mean, is this comparative to like winning the first challenge in Top Chef and then you win the whole thing? Because she won that first course. I mean, that first course for me was a no-brainer. And I felt like most other people at the table felt that way as well.
So you don't disagree that Rhoda was the Top Chef?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I think Rhoda was Top Chef. I really wanted my girl to Sherry win. Stephanie, Joe, and I, we were all like on the side, like, man, motherfucker better get it. Like, I'm rooting for my person. But I think Rhoda's meal was the best one.
Do you turn into like a PR public defender on this, where when Sherry's dish comes up and there might be not the strongest reviews, you go like, actually, I did like the way that the crispiness, do you kind of pipe in as the coach?
So Joe Flynn was laughing at me because when the potato dish came out, I thought for sure that this was going to make the cut, but I don't know what's going to make the cut, right? I was like, the dumplings, they're like kind of pillowy, but a few of them are dense. It was like a mixture. It was like some of them had been good and some of them had been bad. I was like, the sauce is a little acidic, my pig ears are a little crunchy. And then like I looked over and Gail was looking at me. I was like, but I would eat this all day, every day. Like I didn't know, because I would have eaten that dish. I would have eaten that dish all day, every day. But at this point, we're like really nitpicking. So yes, I was like, after I said all these kind of like things, that I was like, but I would eat this all day. Just whatever. Yeah. Mm.
Looking back on this episode, just what is the takeaway from being in a finale on Top Chef for you, Sara? How cool was that? And Gail and Kristen and Tom and the rest of you at the table. Any other scenes at that table that really stand out to you from that experience?
This is what I took away from this. And this is what I've taken away from competition cooking as a whole, whether it's Top Chef or Chopped or Tournament or any of them. When you have a judge that has done it, it is a completely different ballgame. Like when you have people that are judging you that have actually had to participate and compete and they know what it's like, I think the judging is better by people that have done it, like they were, down there kind of talking about like, well, why wouldn't they do this? And it was like, because they're in the back plating for 16 people with every bit of emotion and pressure on them. And yeah, they couldn't have done this, she could have quenelled all the ice cream ahead of time, but that would have meant somebody had to go in the freezer and get the sheet tray ready. And I saw that Sherry was coming out of like a Paco jet to like an ice, you put the stuff in and you freeze it and then you whip the ice cream inside the machine. So those little, those metal banes she was using, the Paco jet. So you freeze the base in there. And then the next day you would come in and you would whip that in a machine. And then normally you would put it back in the freezer so it could set up. I just don't think that she had time to do that. And that's why her ice cream was not perfectly set. It would have been great if she could have done that, but there just wasn't the time for it. So that is my takeaway, is that you want people who have done it to judge you because they get it.
Did you like the seating where you got to sit at that table where you're right there in front of the judges? That's pretty cool. Right in front of the chefs. Yeah.
I got to sit next to Tom Colicchio. And did anybody notice anything special about Tom?
2 earrings? What?
Yeah, he got his ears pierced that morning.
That morning?
That day before, he was like, you don't think I might get my ears pierced? And I was like, really? And Kristen said something like, you won't do it. And he showed up the next day on set and he had like 2 ear piercings. And they were super cool. Like Tom is so cool, man. He's so suave. Not every grown man can pull off like a double ear piercing. And so the whole time I was sitting next to him and every time I would turn and look, I would like see his ear pierced.
When I saw him at the premiere watch party here in Uptown, I remember seeing his earrings and being like, am I dreaming right now? Did he ever have earrings on Top Chef? Because I don't remember him having earrings. And then he showed up in the flesh with earrings. And maybe that was a callback to, hey, when I was here at the finale a few months ago, I got my ears pierced. And not just one. Two in one hole. He said he used to have it when he was younger, and he just like really wanted to go back to it. And we all thought there's no way that man's going to show up with pierced ears. And he did. And they looked cool. They looked really cool. I don't know that my father could pierce his ears. I mean, my father's older than Tom. I don't know if he could do it and like pull it off, but Tom, of course. But, yeah, where did he? Cool is it Asheville? Did he get it, or like in the mountains, or did he do it in Charlotte at South Park Mall or something?
I don't know. Like on top of Grandfather Mountain, he did not have any pierced ears. And the next day,
okay,
he had pierced. No, actually, it was. I think it was 3 days that it took us to film, because I think we went to Grandfather Mountain that day, and then they went and they did all their shopping, and then the next day we went in to like see them cooking and prepping and stuff like that, and then the next day was our like get fancy day. Yeah.
I had a couple notes here on the episode that it wasn't part of the competition necessarily, but tugging at the heartstrings when they brought in the sisters and the spouse. Wow. I got the feels for sure because they just set that up perfectly, and whether they knew or not, you clearly they were like surprised when their dishes on the table. How did you prepare? Wait, wait, who is here? And then they reveal that the sisters are there, and then Lawrence's wife was there, and this is a weird season. I'm not gonna sit here and completely stump for Charlotte as like this is the greatest Top Chef season, but it was different. There wasn't this gap between the finale and the rest of the competition. And so while I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, they didn't see, I don't think they saw them for the entire time because you get to go back home before your finale, Sarah. Like that is a very big difference between past seasons.
I don't know if you did. I don't know if like in season 21 with Buddha and them, if they got to go back home. I feel like they stopped it after COVID and it hasn't come back. Because think if you send somebody home and they go home and they get COVID, you can't bring them back to compete. Like you used to just show up for a couple days before ahead of time and you're in quarantine. Now you show up for like well over a week so that if you were sick, they could quarantine you before the show started.
So didn't they go to last year? So at Destination Canada, they did the finale in, wasn't it in,
was it like in just another part of Canada?
Maybe, or am I thinking of, when they went to Italy? That was 2 years ago. Or was that last year? I want to say that was last year only because, they did that when they went for the Olympics. Didn't they go to Viva Milano? Yeah, last year they went to Milan for the final rounds of the competition. So I thought that they went home and then they got to be with their family. Then they traveled to Europe for the finale. The listeners can correct me on this, but I thought that this was unique that they didn't really go anywhere for the finale. They went to Lake Norman, they went to Asheville, but this felt like to me a new chapter in Top Chef that they actually didn't go fly somewhere for the finale. Like they did, was it 2 years ago? They went to the Caribbean, like Curacao or something like that. And this year,
I don't know that necessarily means that they're going home in between.
True.
I mean, I know for Kentucky, we went home. And we like went home and they were like, go home, work on your dish. And then like you were home for like 2 days and they were like, all right, what's your dish going to be? Like, we need you to dial it in and da, 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 da. But I don't know that means they're going home because in France, when we were in England, they just put us on a plane and we went to France and we cooked like right then. So, I don't know.
Those tugging at the heartstrings on that. Hello Sailor is awesome. We take the kids to Hello Sailor on Lake Norman, and it's like a mid-century modern beach restaurant. Like you feel like you're in California listening to Beach Boys when you go to this restaurant in Charlotte, like on the lake. It's very different. It's from the Kindred group. Awesome. Highly recommend that. When they had that last meal with their family coming together. Grandfather Mountain looked cold, was it? It seemed like one of those situations where in the sun you're fine, but like as soon as you get out in the shade on Grandfather Mountain, you're freezing. So I didn't know if you had any notes about the hike up to Grandfather Mountain.
Well, we were in a little van and we were like, brr, brr, brr. I mean, it is up there. It's a drive. I don't mind heights. I actually like them. So I was like totally into it.
Was that part of the thing was like, hey, Sarah, we're going to be walking across a bridge or in between mountains.
No one
Are you cool with that, Sarah? And you'd be like, no. All right, well, then we're going to call, so-and-so to be here.
No, I was good. They don't care if you're afraid of stuff. They don't care. You're going to do what they want. Yeah. Grandfather Mountain was fabulous. I mean, we had so much fun, and it was fine to get to. It was not fine. It was fun to get to like be with Joe and with Stephanie. And I'll tell you, what wasn't fun. Tommy. I'll tell you, what wasn't fun. Tommy, right?
Yeah,
Tommy. Joe and Joe and Stephanie and I, after they didn't even show us, we stayed around for the judging. You maybe got a little glimpse of us in the background. We stayed for the judging. We were behind like the sisters and the wife, and they were all like locked arms, just like, think, not only have they been gone away from their people, if their people have been gone from them, but they have had to wait around for like weeks to find out, are they still in it? What are they doing today? How is the competition going? Now all of a sudden they're like living in the moment where everybody else has had like 6 to 8 weeks to kind of adjust to the, you know, the shooting and the filming and the stand around and wait and the excitement of like learning. And you could just feel like, I could feel their energy. Like they were so, and when they announced Rhoda, the other sister and Lawrence's wife just hugged Rhoda's sister. They were so happy for her. Like it really is. I mean, they, you know, it is an experience, and to get to share it with someone you love is really cool. Like I was so happy when my mom and Austin got to come to Macau. That probably was one of my favorite moments, was standing behind them and like watching someone
feeling that
get announced.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've never had that feeling. I've had to stand next to the person and be like, oh, I'm so happy for you. I am happy for them sometimes. But after all that was over, they were like, okay, Joe, Stephanie, Sarah, we need you guys to come back to set and film. And we were like, what? And they were like, it was like 12:30 in the morning, and they wanted to come back to do an interview with us, which they never used, but that's okay.
I was just going to say, what are you talking about? We didn't see any interview.
They didn't use it. They barely even showed us back there hanging out and chilling. But Joe did give like a wow. He was pumped when Rhoda won. You know, he was like, wow. He was excited. So, I mean, I was excited for whoever won. I didn't care. I think all of it is so great. But yeah, I don't know.
I love Joe.
Oh my God. He is fun. He's fun. He's like South Side Chicago fun. And I just ate at his restaurant in Chicago. I took the girls with me, and it was a fabulous meal. And like the service, they came out and they were like, we're going to take care of you. They were like, but just, you know, what do the kids want to eat and drink? Because we're going to go ahead and get that banged out for you really quick. And that is a sign of like,
oh yeah,
top notch. We're going to take care of them so we can come back and make sure you enjoy your meal.
Butter noodles what on the table. And Adrian are doing on Chef's Cup Pod, and it's his personality really shines through in that, and he's funny. He looks great. Like he's now like a hunk in a way that like he clearly has been like lifting, and I've been watching him, and just from afar, I'm like, hey, Joe Flam, you're made for this world. You are awesome, and I'm glad that his personality has shined through, and he's just great, and I think the world of him. So I'm happy to see that he was brought back for the finale, and he's still part of the Top Chef family and doing great stuff. And now James Beard, restaurateur in the business, and just shout out to Joe. And that must have been cool with him and Stephanie just being able to be there for the finale of Top Chef together, because they've,
they go way back. I mean, he used to work for her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they both were like, Sarah, we're going to go get a workout in. You want to go? And I was like, no, I'm going to lay in my bed with no children, and I'm going to sleep. I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat pastries. I think Joe brought me, he like texted me and he's like, hey, there's some, beignets at your door. He had like gone to work out, and then he'd left a bag of beignets at my like,
what a guy.
What a nice gentleman. Yeah. I got those beignets. I put on some trashy something on Netflix, and I laid there in the morning until my call time. It was beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I think it's a beautiful thing what we did on this season of Top Chef. Sarah, this was great. I really loved having you on and going through this season. And I remember you coming in and after the finale, and you were like, I'm not going to tell you, obviously can't tell you, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to ruin it for you. But this was a great season of Top Chef. Like this is the finale is going to be great. And as I'm watching, I remember thinking back to that conversation with you, and I was so excited to do this season together, and I did not quite realize what I was in for when the fantasy league. So
will you remind us of the scores real quick?
I literally, you know what? As I'm sitting here, I actually didn't do the scoring system this week. So you know what? We're going to do this live. I'm going to do this live for your satisfaction. I'm going to compute this live onto the show. This is no joke. I'm adding 25 for Rhoda. I'm adding, I mean, what do I do? Top 3? Do I go, do I just do 25 for Rhoda? Because they didn't get eliminated. There wasn't like a middle or a bottom. I'm going to go 25 for Rhoda, unless you think of, maybe I'll do 2 points for middle for both of the other two, Sherry and Lawrence. Unless we don't have official scoring. So like,
I don't know.
209 to 44. I also had I was not negative the last 3 weeks here. So,
it's funny. Somebody put on like, there's like a Reddit. If you love Top Chef enough to be watching this podcast or to listening to this podcast, you should also be on the Reddit, like the subreddit for Bravo Top Chef. There's 2 of them. One of them is like, I definitely love a lot more, and I've been on it for years. And somebody will say something like, well, we know Sarah Bradley creeps around in here, and I'll just pop up and be like, I'm still here, and go away. But there was one about like somebody asking about, the draft, and someone made the comment, they were like, was Sarah lying? Did she know the whole time? And we didn't. But somebody made the comment. They were like, I really felt like towards the end, Sarah was, really paying a lot more attention to her chefs. And I replied, that's because I was the only one with people left in the competition. Like, obviously we were going to talk about my chefs more.
Yeah.
And I just brought that up so that I could rub it in your face a little bit more.
Okay. We haven't talked about this. I noticed that you weren't as glowing about Rhoda during this season because I think you were trying not to be like tipping your hand that you knew that she won. Because whenever I brought up Rhoda and how good she was or this dish, I felt an energy from you of like, shit, I can't really say too much positive about Rhoda because then it'll give it away. Was this hard for you? Like,
I was so shocked when she went home. I think that was the thing. I was like, oh my God, like what has happened? And then we see at the end, like I saw at the end, like I knew now who, like once we had gone in there and I started to watch some of the beginning episodes, I knew who Seeger. I still thought that was Brandon at the end. Throughout the whole time in my head, I thought it was Brandon. And I knew it was Anthony. But then when I saw Seeger get eliminated, I was like playing it through my head, like, well, he must have come back, but da-da-da-da-da. But then I didn't know if all those people ended because on my season, my first season of Top Chef, they brought all of the contestants back out and they let us choose from all of the contestants. And
so those were the last 3 that got eliminated, Jonathan, Seeger, and Anthony. Yeah.
But I thought maybe they kept them all there because they're not flying to some destination. So maybe everybody stayed. And they all got to pick their buddy instead of just getting, the top 3, like it's kind of become tradition to do. So every time it would happen, it was like, I had no clue what was going on. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I was afraid to like really love Rhoda. But we also have to remember Rhoda was gone for part of the competition. She wasn't there for part of it. She was just in Last Chance Kitchen.
But you had known that she won Last Chance Kitchen because she won the whole thing. So like, as we're reviewing Last Chance, you're like, yeah, Rhoda's doing a pretty good job. I mean, I was probably insecure in my head. And the other thing that I want to talk about real quick before we go is I think Bravo and Survivor and all these other competition shows have a real problem on their hands with the prediction markets.
Oh, I know.
Rhoda was the odds-on favorite throughout like even from March on whatever Polymarket, Kalshi, whatever you want to call it. These prediction markets had Rhoda winning like 80-90% of the bets in like before the season started. So even when she was in Last Chance Kitchen, it didn't drop. So there wasn't a lot of live action on these prediction markets. When she got sent home and had to go into the losers bracket, you didn't see any drop. And maybe that's because there just really isn't that many people betting on this, and that the volume of betting, there really isn't a market for Top Chef. And so whoever was getting that information and placing those bets, it seemed like, for me, it kind of did let the air out a little bit on this season, because someone had sent me, hey, did you see that Rhoda is kicking ass in the prediction markets and she's an LCK? And I'm like, man, Top Chef, Bravo, Tournament of Champions, any Survivor, any of these, Bachelor, Bachelorette, they have to figure out a way to keep these things airtight. And I don't know what they do.
I just don't know that you can. I mean, in this day and age, I would guess that the Top Chef set is like, of all the people involved with the PAs, the audio, the grip, the camera, like all of those people, I mean, well over 100 people. And that's just the ones that we see. Like, we don't see the people back in video. Like, we don't see like all the behind the scenes people. You know, the fact that the culinary team has probably 10 people that roll in after a challenge and clean up, and, you know, they're all hearing what's going on. I don't know how they keep it. I am glad that we were so adamant about the blind draft, because it would not have been, if you'd gone on the show and you knew who was there, we would have had to let people draft for us, and they would not have done as well as I did. So,
well, Southern Sides, I think, was the 4th episode. So someone had mentioned, well, when they drafted, had they already finished up the production? And the answer is no. Like, when I went, I think there was 3 eliminations done. And so the word on the street, I would never have known that Rhoda won the whole thing, or you would have never have known that Rhoda won the whole thing, because at that time we were only 3 episodes into the production, and we taped before I went. We have the receipts. And so I had no idea who was left in the competition. And even if you did know that Jossie was eliminated, I wouldn't have drafted Jossie 2nd overall if I had known that he got eliminated, because at that point he was, I think, out of the competition. So the point is, we got to do blind draft next year. And I think it's the way to go. And I hope that it isn't as predictable. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to send some intern. I'm going to try to get someone to get into your big boardroom and kind of get your, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to try to do some reconnaissance.
Who wants to be Tom? Tom, you can have 20 interns. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to talk a bunch of shit, and the next year you're going to kill me. You can have 20 interns, though. I don't know.
That's what it's all about. It's the redemption arc. Okay. I'm going to be back next year. And blind draft, I'm going to get a war room you've never seen. The kind of, Maze is having fun with this. I'm Chet Holmgren. Chet, our guy Chet did not have a good playoffs. Sarah,
I'm Wimby. I loved all the pictures of like Chet, and he was like a little baby, and Wimby was like holding him and swinging him around.
Rocking the baby.
I mean, you know, my husband has become a Thunders. You know, he is a fan. And I think it's because there's so many UK players. But please. Maze is going to Photoshop says that.
He's going to do a Photoshop of me as a baby and you just rocking me. So you got to look out for that. And I'm gonna put it up on my bulletin board.
Before we go, I also have to talk about this Top Chef reference. Yeah, dude, it is bizarre. I mean, I obviously typed in my own name to check myself out, and I was like, damn. I did not win that many challenges in my head. I mean, I know I didn't win that many challenges. I know I was never like somebody who was like gunning for every challenge or, you know, quick fire win. I just have a different way that I like to play the game. But
so Top Chef reference is Carly Levitz posted an amazing database live. You can go check it out right now at packyourknives.com. She just wrote up a big post about this. And the link is in the post, but she did a Tableau, which is a database visualization program that you can look up cookbooks by every Top Chef competitor. You can look at how many Last Chance Kitchen wins they have, or quickfire wins, the percentage. She has her own metric, that the NPT metric that is like OPS in baseball, that ranks every Top Chef contestant of all time against each other. And so there's just an abundance of information there, drafting off of Baseball Reference, Sports Reference, Basketball Reference, which is the go-to place for sports statistics. She has done this for Top Chef.
I love that she has the GOAT tab. Like, you can go into the GOAT tab and you can put in your own requirements for like, they at least competed in this many competitions with this many, you can like pull it all out and then see like what people hit your criteria. Listen, I would be lying if I didn't, spend at least, I don't know, I would say 30 to 45 minutes on there. Like, I was looking at my friends. I started looking at people that I compete against on Tournament of Champions. Like, I started typing those in, like trying to like find out. I searched Antonia, like the whole thing.
Where you rank amongst your peers.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean, I don't rank that great. But I don't have a huge win percentage. I have lots of tops and lots, and wins, but I have more because I have cooked in a significant more amount of challenges than a lot of people. So maybe I should go for something. I think you should combine my 2 seasons together, Carly.
I think if you're an NBA player, are you Charles Barkley? Like, funny, badass, didn't win the whole thing, but had been to the finals and wildly known as one of the best ever.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
I mean, I would love to be Charles Barkley. By my performance this year, I am probably a guy who never made it into the NBA based on how well I did in Top Chef this year. So,
or who's like a guy that, I don't know. I'm not going to start picking on you. We won't pick on you too much, Tommy.
Well, we'll have. I think we got to get Rhoda or the finalists on the pod. So we'll stick around for that. We're going to do that in the coming weeks to try to break everything down. It's been a real pleasure, Sara, and I can't wait to keep this going. And we're gonna go listen to Track Your Knives to find out who won the Freight House dinner.
No, who's coming?
And it came down to the one final point going into the finale episode. So it is a serious competition, the power rankings. So can't wait to have everyone listening to this go into the Top Chef reference and just have a blast. Go do that. Go listen to Track Your Knives. Go subscribe to Pack Your Knives, our Substack at packyourknives.com, and get all of our archives. If you want to go back into past seasons and listen to our breakdown of Sara Bradley's 2 seasons onto the show, it's all on our website. So go check it out. And thank you so much to our audience. We love having the platform to do this. And thank you for all of the support, everyone out there. And thank you, Sara and Maze, for making this. This like, I have so much fun doing this with you.
It was a good time. I have really, really enjoyed it. I have one request for an off-season pod. I want you to pick your top 3 places Top Chef should go and some reasons why. And then I'm going to pick mine. And they have not announced where the next season of Top Chef is. And I got some reasons that I think people should go to certain places. I want to know where you think they're going.
Yeah, look, they came to my city, and I can't say I won't put that number 1 is come back. You did the finale here. Come back to Charlotte. Let's just make this the home base for all of the seasons. No, we'll do it. Because I know people are clamoring for a certain city in the South that has not had a hosting gig. But I'll keep digging into the pool of Top Chef cities, and we'll see what we do. But for Sara Bradley, I'm Tom Haberstroh, and this is Pack Your Knives.